Three, two, one. All right, man. Awesome. Hey guys, it's Tristan with Cairo Sushi, and I'm really grateful and excited because I have our first guest in our series of our Cairo Sushi Samurai Book of the Quarter Club, which is a book, just to let you know, Mark, we want to make a statement with the book that we chose to go out with. I sent Mark a message, an email, hey, we're buying a shitload of your book. I actually bought so many books at one point on Amazon that it was sold out. It was only like for like an hour or so, but I couldn't buy any more books because I'm like sending the books to people in our group as they're signing up. And obviously, dude, this book, dude, when I'm at the airport and I've been traveling a lot, I go into Hudson News and stuff like that, and I see so many people pick this book up. I want to start real quick here. The title, obviously, and the color brand scheme, very
Sure.
intelligent and smart, right?
Yeah.
Now, there was, I forget who did Do Awesome Shit or Do Great Shit. She's a co-founder of a company. Forget her name. Forgive me, guys. I'll get it later. But are you? I mean, you own now. Fuck for books. No one else can ever own that again.
I
Can you
suppose so. It's pretty good real estate in terms of the English language.
yeah. What did you go? I just have to ask. Did you go with the orange scheme because it just obviously another draw and tension point?
I think that was the idea behind it. Harper felt very strongly about the orange. We
Yeah.
talked about a number of colors, and they really wanted to go with that. And yeah, it worked out great. Really happy with it.
Cool, man. So let's start about you first. You started a
Sure.
blog that's received a lot of attention. You got some really cool courses. I just took the communication course myself. I'm actually interested in taking the anxiety one and the travel courses. For anyone who's interested in learning what we're talking about, you can go to markmanson.net, and you can actually sign. Dude, like $6 a month. It's like less than a cup of coffee for two days a month. Talk to us about the blog, where you came from, your whole kind
Sure.
of MO.
Um, so I probably like a lot of people, I read 4 Hour Work Week back like 2007, and decided, hey, I want to have an online business, since that was like the cool thing to do back then.
Right.
And so I actually started out in just internet marketing, like direct marketing, affiliate sales, and things like that. Um, and I wasn't very good at it. I didn't really like it. I wasn't very good at it. But like back then, one of the big pieces of advice, if you looked at marketing seminars or internet business seminars, everybody was like, start a blog, start a blog, start a blog. It was the hot new thing back in 2008 or whatever. So I just started blogging because I thought like, oh, this is just how you get traffic, and I need traffic if I'm gonna like sell stuff and make money and go live on a beach or something. Um,
Right.
what ended up happening is it turned out I was really good at the blogging and people really liked the blog, and I was kind of crappy at selling stuff. So over the course of about 2 years, it slowly evolved into just me blogging all the time because that's what people wanted. Uh, and so yeah, I've basically been full-time writer, author, blogger since 2010 or 11.
Awesome. And Jeff Langmaid wanted me to ask you, and I think this relates to your blog as well as your book. Dr. Langmaid wanted me to ask you about your editing process. What does your process for editing typically look like with your writing?
Um, is that for the book, or because I mean with the book I had an editor at Harper.
I think he's actually talking about your blog because
Okay, my
that's more
blog.
kind of, yeah.
Okay. So I personally, a lot of writing advice out there says that, you know, like there's a famous, I don't know if I can curse on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. We're Cairo
Go for
Sushi.
it.
We're fucking raw. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
like that.
Yeah, dude.
Uh,
We're no drugs, just cursing. Yeah.
uh, I like. There's a famous Hemingway quote where the first draft of everything is shit, and I'm a big subscriber of that
Yeah.
that belief. Like everything, the majority of the quality, like how whatever the quality of your writing, the majority of it is going to be teased out in the editing process. So. generally what I do is my goal with the first draft is to just get everything on the page, and I try not to judge it too much. It's just like get the info out. Like don't even if it's grammatically incorrect and I make typos and stuff, like I try not to care too much. The second and third go throughs. That's where like the real magic happens. That's when you start reading it, like pretending you're the reader and asking yourself like, is this good? Is this horrible? Okay, if it's horrible, what would make it good? What can I add to this paragraph to like make it good? And so it's kind of like macro stuff. And I spend a lot of time paying attention to like voice and flow and things like that. And then it's usually the third or fourth time through that, you get into the nitty gritty of like, all right, is the comma in the right place? Should I break this paragraph up, or should I combine these two, or, stuff like that. So, you basically like start at a very macro level and then slowly like zoom into the details over time.
Thanks for sharing. And Jeffrey, I hope that answered your question. You're in Austin still, right?
No, I grew up in Austin.
Oh, you grew up in Austin. Where do you live right now?
I live in New York.
Oh, you live in New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there? Because I was going to bring up the fact like Tucker Max and Noah Kagan, all these guys are living in Austin. Is there a reason why you like living in New York City? The energy or anything for you? What's a good fit for you? Why New York City for you?
I love New York. It's fun. I'm an East Coast guy who was born in the wrong place. I grew up in Austin. I love Austin. It's a great place. But I went to school in Boston. And I just love big cities. I love the East Coast vibe. It's like very no bullshit, like very in your face, very manic. I kind of thrive off of that.
Yeah, well, that works for you, especially with Chapter 3 of if you guys are just joining us, we're with Mark Manson, the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, as you are not special, and that is okay. I'm going to dive in a couple chapters.
Sure.
But talk to you first, before we jump into the book. Obviously, the blog, there's tons of great content on there. If you guys subscribe to the blog, or actually the subscription service for $6 a month, I mean, it's a fucking no-brainer. And I'm probably gonna swear more than I wanted to, but $6 a month gets you also access to these really cool. Yeah, he's the swearing guy. The courses on there, man. I mean, dude, like they're really cool, interesting. I mean, like real big problems that I think we're talking about traveling, anxiety, communication, and relationships. Can you just give a brief plug and kind of insight into these courses and the why behind people should be taking these? Because I think they're awesome.
Well, and there's one on there for writing and blogging as well.
Okay, cool.
It kind of gets into like the nuts and bolts of my process and how I think about writing. So as I was blogging over the years, I released a couple of courses, like online courses, video courses, things like that. And it always felt like it was in kind of a weird place because it was like so many people came to the blog for article content, and then there was a very small amount of people who maybe like had a big problem that would sign up for a course or something. And so what I did a few years ago is I said, you know what, like I should just make these courses like just basically expand some of like the principles of the blog itself. So everybody who kind of struggles with the relationships, like we'll just have like 6 hours of course content that just like really deep dives into all the concepts that I bring up in my articles. Same thing for communication and anxiety and things like that. And I basically kind of turned it into a supplement for the writing. And it's been great because now it's positioned as like, if you read an article about relationships or something, you really love it, and you're like, wow, I really wish I knew like the research and the ideas behind this, like where they came from, like how to implement them or how to think about them in my own life. The course is there for that. So it's been great, and it's one price, you get access to everything.
It's a no-brainer.
It's too hard when you have like millions of readers. It's too hard to like try to like sell this course to this person and this one. So it's just like, just give me a little money and you can have everything.
I dig it, man. And you're getting a lot of comments about your hollow body. Are you a decent guitar player or average or phenomenal? Where would you put yourself?
I would say these days, like decent.
Okay, cool.
Music used
Are
to
you
be my thing. I went to music school and was like, wanted to be a professional musician. This is when I was young.
yeah.
These days, I don't play very much. So,
So are you a songwriter?
what's that?
Are you a songwriter at any time? Songwriter or?
Yeah, when I was young, I wrote some stuff. I don't sing
Cool.
though. I'm a terrible singer.
Okay, cool. We're gonna
I will torture
dive.
you all.
We're going to dive into a couple concepts and insights and nuggets from this book. Questions I have. I actually, back in the day, and we're full disclosure, we dropped raw bombs, like I say, at Cairo Sushi. Back in the day, I actually went through a program called the Three Principles in Northern California, which was basically a school for bad boys. And I went through a process of learning about, thoughts control your emotions, which create your beliefs. But I got to a point with this kind of work where it was like I really developed apathy. I mean, I didn't care about anything. Not giving a fuck. The subtle art of not giving a fuck is not a glorification of apathy, right?
No, definitely not.
It's
It's all about it's all about learning to choose and focus where you're giving your fucks. Because I mean, the central premise of the book is like whether we realize it or not, we're always choosing what to care about, and that simple choice is actually like matters more than anything. Because even if you choose to care about the wrong thing, even if you work really hard, if you set goals, if you wake up at 6 a.m., if you like practice all these productivity things, if you're caring about the wrong thing, then it's not gonna work. Everything's gonna backfire.
Yeah. I know there's probably more groups out there that are doing, and which has got to be kind of freaking weird. I bet, like when people are like, "Hey, we're doing your book as a club thing," and like because we're actually starting it this quarter, and so we give like for 3 months. Is there anything that you say to from a student perspective, or from looking at this actually and workshopping the book? Where would you guide some of our users in our group for the book?
I would say, so when I was writing the book, I think one of the things that's different about my book compared to a lot of other personal development, personal growth type stuff, is there's not a whole lot of like tangible prescriptive advice. There's not a whole lot of like, go do X, Y, Z, like fill out this quiz and then you can go do this. And when I was writing it, my publisher actually kind of pressured me to put some of that stuff in there. And I told him no. I said, the whole point of the book is to learn how to become aware of what you're caring about and learn how to exercise that choice of what to care about. And I said that like if I start telling people what to value, that kind of defeats the whole purpose. Like the whole point of the book is like teaching people how to choose
figure it out themselves. Yes. Right. Yeah. Not Mark's one, but I do want to jump to chapter 6 real quick and talk about, you do have some, I don't know, Manson's law of avoidance. If you could fill us in on what is the Manson's law of avoidance?
Well, I always wanted to name a law about myself, so I did. Even though I'm pretty sure I didn't come up with it. But basically, Manson's law of avoidance states that we will avoid something that threatens our identity in proportion to how much it threatens our identity. So, and the interesting thing about this is that it explains both fear of failure and fear of success. So people are afraid of failure because they're afraid it's going to contradict, who they are. So they think they're a good doctor or they're a good father and they hold on to this, and so they'll avoid doing things that might threaten that. But the same thing is true of fear of success. We also avoid things that will threaten our identity. So if we believe that, we're just like a humble everyday Joe, then if a huge opportunity comes around, that's actually going to freak us out, and we're going to find ways to sabotage ourselves and avoid it as well. And so I really think fear of failure and fear of success, they're basically the same thing, which is the fear of the loss of ourselves. Because all change requires killing a part of yourself. and rebuilding something in its place. And that is inherently a frightening thing for us to deal with psychologically.
I don't, part of you got that. There's another area in your book where I think you talk about you had a fear of failing, like if you went out on the weekend and didn't pick up chicks, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't get that from you though, dude. I mean, I gotta be like I don't pick up Mr. Like so is part of killing yourself? Did you kill part of that self?
Well,
I mean, was there a more bro-ish Mark Manson before?
Let me find my gold chains. Where did I put them?
No way.
Let me undo my shirt a little bit. Yeah, I think I did. I had to.
Yeah.
I was very attached to that. For much of my young adulthood, I was very attached to validation from women. That was a big part of my identity. It was something I was using to compensate for a lot of my insecurities and fears. And yeah, it was terrifying to let go of. It was terrifying. Like I would like the first few times, like I just stayed home and like watched TV on a weekend. I was like, wow, I'm a loser. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm in here because nobody wants to hang out with me.
That's almost like what happens. Yeah, that's what happens when people stop drinking and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. 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 And I think there's a lot of, it's funny. I had a section originally in the first draft of the book. It's funny you bring that up. I had a section in the book about addiction, where I kind of basically, I mean, it eventually got cut because I don't think I had fleshed out the ideas completely or very well. But, I definitely believe there's, addiction is probably, it's not purely a chemical thing. Like you can be addicted to all sorts of behaviors. Because generally underlying any addiction, there's like this emotional dependency on something. And that can be chasing women, that could be video games, that could be porn, that could be making money, it could be work. It's definitely it's not the same as alcoholism, like chemically and neurologically probably, but I definitely think there's something to that for sure.
Well, suffering. I mean, I think universally that's all. And you talk about I don't want to dive into that, but there's a great chapter, guys. If you guys are just joining us, we're Mark Manson, author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. There's a chapter on suffering, and actually, for the first time, someone I really agreed with. Like, it's inevitable that there's value actually in suffering. Something that I picked up from your book too is one of my mentors and former co-founder with me at Dr. Base, a gentleman by the name of John Sun Kim, created a company called 5-9. Took that company public. One of his greatest lessons to me was all entrepreneurs should have a chip on their shoulder. And there was some correlation there. And there's a great chapter on the importance of saying no, but the big one for me, man, I want to dive into before we close out, because it's something I'm going to share with our group today. I have a very, very insane fear of death, but I'm also kind of an outcast and rebel where it's like, I'm the dude that's going to go till 5 a.m. and if someone says, hey, we have this really cool drug that's never been out there before, I'm like, yeah, let me do it. Like, so there's like this contradiction, right? Like, I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm definitely afraid of death. But you feel that a healthy fear of death is positive.
Yeah. Well, I think contemplation of our own death is positive. I think it's important. One of the reasons is what you just mentioned. I think the more, that fear of death, it's like any fear, right? Like the way you deal with it is by confronting it, is like putting yourself in the situation, thinking about it. Otherwise, you just find new ways to avoid it. And because the fear of death is like constant throughout our lives, if we avoid it, there's always opportunity to avoid it, in all sorts of different ways. And I think, kind of the whole book is, like I said, it's about values. It's about choosing what to care about. And I guess the argument I make in the end is the only way you can really know if something is worth caring about, if something is worthwhile, if something's worth giving a fuck about, is thinking about it in regards to your own death. It's the only way to like really kind of be objective about it. Like, is this something, if I died, is this something that would have been worth spending my energy and my time. And I think probably most people in their lives have an experience. I talk about one of mine in the book, but I think most people have an experience of like somebody close to them dies, or maybe they come close to death themselves, or a family member gets like really sick, and it changes you, because all of a sudden it's like all those petty arguments that you and dad had for years. It's like suddenly he gets cancer, and it's like, whoa, none of that mattered. I wish I called more, And so even though death is scary, I think it's necessary to think about. Like it's probably mentally healthy to a certain extent.
Good. I appreciate it. I want to leave you with one question. I'm asking, one of the goals of Chiro Sushi is to bring people outside of chiropractic in, that I believe they're the smartest people in the room. You're probably like, Jesus, that's not me, but no, you are one of the smartest people in the room. I'm going to give you a challenge, or like a variety, like an integrated challenge, and it's just one question. Kind of, here's the problem, and you might not have the solution, or you might not have the answer, but here's a tool. We believe chiropractic that can help optimize the body, the mind. Some believe the spirit. We are outcast, which relates to your book. One of the other reasons why we chose your book to go out, because we embrace the rebel, the outcast, since 1895. But we're only serving a certain percentage, like a minuscule percentage of the population, because our brand has so much confusion to it. If you were to say, take over either branding for chiropractic or marketing for chiropractic, what would you do?
Dude, if I had a good answer to this, I'd be charging you a lot of money.
I know, dude. I'm a sneaky motherfucker.
I'm just an internet guy.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I can just, how about this? I can give you my personal testimonial. Like, my knowledge. So, for instance, my cousin is a chiropractor.
Oh, cool.
And I think it's probably one of those things. So, for instance, it's probably one of those things that a lot of it happens like word of mouth or through reference. Like I'll give you another example. So, like acupuncture, and acupuncture is kind of in the same boat in terms of like the skepticism and the ridicule and all this stuff. I thought acupuncture was bunk, and then my dad started having back problems, and he was like, the doctors couldn't fix it, and then he went to an acupuncturist, and like they fixed, like it was instant, like fixed, and I was like, that's fucking crazy. And so, and now my wife goes to one, and so like I don't know how it works, I don't know why it works, but like for some people it works, right? And I imagine, in the world of psychology, it's kind of similar in that, there's no therapy that has 100% hit rate. Like there's a bunch of different types of therapies, and some of them work great for some people and horrible for others, and some of them work great for other people and horrible for others. And it's probably similar with some of these other types of medicine, I imagine. And you probably see that with clients. Some clients come in and it's just like boom, like magic, and then other clients, like it's a struggle. It's like an uphill struggle. So, I don't know.
I appreciate it, and I'm grateful for the answer that you said. I would be charging a lot, and we're going to talk about that offline, because that's going to be one of the challenges next year for our Chiro Sushi Summit. I appreciate, dude, all the time you gave today for our group and for the Chiro Sushi family, and just thank you so much. You guys, if you want to pick up a copy, you can go to Amazon, get your copy, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Subscribe, $6 a month. It's a no-brainer to markmanson.net. Any chance you're going to get the markmanson.com, or who owns that?
Dude, I've been looking for years. Yeah.
Do you feel antiquated with the .net, or do you feel like you're kind of,
it's like a gnawing insecurity in the back of my head. It's like, man, still not a .com guy. If anybody watching this knows who has the .com or can find the person at .com, I'm willing to pay a bounty at this point. Like, I've been looking for years for the guy, and I can't find him.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mark Manson. Guys, get your copy of how the subtle art, the how to not give this or the subtle art of not giving a fuck at Amazon. And we look forward to working on your book over the next quarter here. Thanks so much, dude.
Thanks.